welcome back. Today I'm going to be playing around with some summer trends. I thought this would be a fun continuation of the earlier video where I was playing around with the makeup I already have to experiment with it, and since we are really getting into the height of summer now, it seems like a great time to go and look at those trend articles and find out what feels like it's actually gonna stick or be appealing, and see how I can use the makeup that I have to give it a try. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Audrey. I review makeup and skincare with a focus on dealing with rosacea and dry skin issues, but also I like to play with what I have and use makeup as a way of expressing how I feel and who I want to be in the world and the way that I can present myself in public. And if those kinds of things interest you, then I hope you'll subscribe. I found a few articles that have their lists of trends that aren't, like months and months old, because of course everybody starts putting these things together as soon as the spring and summer collections are out in the fashion industry, and those feel like guesses more than actually tapping into what people are doing right now. So I wanted to go and find ones that are just from the last couple of weeks and see what their roundup included. From Pop Sugar, we have classic lip combos, which I think just means using a lip liner and kind of a nude pink lipstick. But their example was a little vague to me, so maybe that's interpret as you will. Sunset eyes. So that's the kind of continuation of the thing people have been doing the last couple of months with fading like an orange into a red, or a coral into another kind of like sunset sky color. And there's some really fun effects that people have been doing with that. They also came up with ballet slipper skin, which felt similarly vague to me. As far as I can tell, they just mean glowy but not too glowy, and maybe with that kind of soft ballet core aesthetic. That also seems like it was kind of reaching. Cool toned eyeshadow, which, okay, a nice variation. So you could do the warm sunset eyes, you could do cool toned eyeshadow things. Sun-kissed blush. And they emphasize cream and liquid products for that, and then iridescent eyeshadow. So I was thinking that I would take these articles and swatch them a little, or swatch some ideas for it, and then put together a look. So just real quick, things that I have on hand that could work for, let's say, the classic lip combo kind of idea. I have this NYX Line Loud lip pencil in the shade Sassy. And so I'll do a swatch of that on my hand. I also have my Mauve lip liner. This is the only color that they offer right now. It's M1990. And putting those side by side, you can see that's a pretty similar color family. The most neutral lipstick that I have is this Merit, also 1990, in their classic satin, I think. Whatever their original lipstick line was. And you could see that could go really nicely with either one of those lip liners. The other more neutral leaning lipstick I grabbed is also from Mauve. It's shade M58, and it's a nice neutral kind of pink. And I think a color like this would also go really nicely with either of those liners. I don't really have anything for sunset eyes or cool toned eyeshadow without going into the older palettes that I have. And after I used them the other day and I've been swatching and playing with them, I realized they're really on their, at the end of their life here. I can feel that the textures have changed and they're 5 years old. So I'm going to be trying to limit how much I use them actually on my eyes. But I do have a couple of iridescent options. This is the About Face eyeshadow stick in Pearly. And it's a little hard to see on my skin tone on its own, but I put it here. And then the most iridescent eye product I have is the About Face holographic eye paint. And this is the shade Lucid Dream. It has this really beautiful pink-green shift. And so that might be a fun thing to play with today. I feel like I don't have the most sun-kissed kind of blush colors, but I did grab my About Face Cheek Freak blush in the shade Laid, which is a nice soft pink. And that is a trend that comes up a little bit later. So may as well put that on my hand to go with all this other stuff. Another possible contender might be the Tower 28 cream blush in Happy Hour. And I'd say that just has a little bit more red in it than the About Face blush. And then the other blush that I grabbed to compare is the Say liquid blush in Sweetie. This is another straight up pink that maybe actually has a little bit of coral into it relative to these other ones. Oh, and the other blush that I have in front of me is the e.l.f. Putty Blush in the shade Tahiti. And I think it's going to be pretty much in the same color family. It's really interesting comparing all these textures. And that is the least interest in sticking to my skin right now, so we're not going to have much of a swatch. I don't know if you can make that out. But it almost has a little bit of orange in it relative to the others. So I think actually, in terms of getting a more sun-kissed kind of look, I would probably go for the e.l.f. Putty Blush, just in terms of the colors. This is going to be a pretty light application. Might take a little bit more effort to get high color payoff. Moving on to another trend article, Elle came up with orange blush. So in keeping with that sunset trend again, I would say pearlescent skin, more variations on luminous but not outright glowy. A sun-kissed or dull blush application. So I think that just means the kind of top of the cheeks and across the nose. Glitter Balm, which they mostly talked about lip products. So the most glittery lip product I have is the NYX clicky lip pen thing. Let's see if I can find some space on my hand here to swatch that. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera either. I have it here. But this has a nice like multi-chrome sparkle kind of thing going on that I would say is a little bit pink and orange. On my lips, I can't really notice the color specifically, but it does create a nice effect. And then the other article that I looked at was from Harper's Bazaar, and they had some overlapping trends here for sure. They went with boyfriend blush, which I think I've mentioned before is a trend that just really annoys me because it basically imitates the pattern that a lot of us have with rosacea. And the number of influencers I've seen who are just like, oh, it's so cute. It's just like, you know, those flush princes. I'm not into replicating, using somebody's natural features as your aesthetic in general, you know? I think it's one thing to pick, you know, doll blush, all right, so that's an abstracted idea of it. Or, you know, to talk about like how blush placement on the face affects the shape of the cheek. But when you start doing, okay, not just how somebody wears their makeup, but how somebody looks naturally, especially with kids, I just really find that uncomfortable. And especially so because that's something that I don't necessarily like about my own face. And so it's fine if people want to have fun with it, but I am personally not going to be doing that or suggesting that as for me, it doesn't feel like a fun summer option. It just feels kind of annoying. And their version of the softly luminous skin is Pearl Skin. One that I didn't really see anybody else call out was just lashes or mascara. And Harper's Bazaar says Barely There lashes, which totally makes sense to me as a summer trend kind of thing, you know, having something that maybe helps give your eye a little bit of definition without being overpowering. And the mascara that I've been playing around with for that particular effect is the Caliray Come Hell or High Water. On me, this just adds a little bit of a tint to my lashes. It definitely up close, I can tell that I just don't have a lot of lashes to work with here. But especially at a, you know, a little bit further, even like, you know, phone selfie distance, it creates a nice subtle kind of effect. And I'm sure for those of you who like actually have lashes, this probably is a little bit more impactful. But for me, it's something I've been grabbing when I'm trying an eye makeup look or, you know, doing something a little bit more with eyeshadow and just need a little bit of mascara to help kind of finish it off. Their pink of choice was Petal Pink. And I think that color is definitely represented here on my hand from a couple of these products. Interestingly, bronzer in general wasn't a big part of these lists, but for this one they said soft bronze, which I think was just, you know, a more luminous kind of bronzer effect. And of course they mentioned the bronzing drops, which I'm starting to think were more of a marketing push than an actual trend, because of all the videos that I've done in the past few weeks, the one about bronzing drops has by far the fewest views. So I'm starting to have doubts that people are even searching for it as much as just being curious about the products that are being offered. And for me with that, any light application of bronzer on top of luminous skin is going to be plenty. And to add one more color into the mix, their lipstick of choice was a bold red lip. And I grabbed a few things that might fit that category for me. One of them is this e.l.f. lip pencil. As usual, the color name is in tiny letters on the cap, or sometimes it's the end on these things. So I'll just make sure that I have it listed with everything else in the description. So that's what that looks like. Then I'm pretty sure this doesn't count as a classic red, but I wanted to play with the Cherry Pick lip from About Face. This is Watermelon Take. This is closer to some of those blush colors. And one more red option is this Sephora Shine Lipstick in Cosmic Coral. And it's a really nice hydrating sheer formula. I've been liking this one a lot. So to put all those together, I think there's a couple of combinations that I personally would like a lot. You know, kind of a soft, luminous foundation, you know, base look with any of these red lips. Totally into that for summer. The same thing with, you know, light bronzy look and a soft pink blush. Also a fan of that. I think sticking to the sort of more subtle iridescent shades, especially if it's in like a peach or maybe like a neutral brown or something like that, I think would be really nice. I don't exactly have an option that I think would deliver that for me, but maybe I'll just go ahead and use the pearly About Face eyeshadow stick. And I think it's also interesting that none of them called out brows, but to me this is just a sign of how we really have so many more concurrent trends happening these days than we did when I was younger, for sure. Probably any way you do your brows at the moment is going to be a-okay. So I think what I'll do is start with the base, do blush, and then decide exactly what I want for eyes and lips after that. But first I'm going to wash all these swatches off my hands so I don't get them on everything else. I just did soap and water, and a few of the things are still actually pretty much put. The NYX Slick Click, this shade is main character if I didn't say that before. Still has a decent amount of glitter left here. And I also have the holographic eye paint and the Mob lip liner. And the lip liner I was expecting. This stuff is seriously waterproof and budge proof, and one of my top recommendations if you want a summer lip that's not gonna go anywhere. So I'll just quick do my base makeup with some of the Halo Glow liquid filter. Oh, and once again, I'm forgetting to tell you about SPF. I'm wearing the Sun Bum Face 50. I reviewed the 70 before and how it had been pretty both like sticky and greasy looking on me. I'm a lot happier with the 50, but this is my first time actually putting makeup on top of it, so we'll see how that goes. It'll be a little bit of a test. For foundation, I've really been loving the Salt New York Sneaky Balm. I'm getting a lot of use out of this summer. The Balm formula really gives everything a nice, softly luminous finish. And I'm leaving it pretty light coverage, so there's still a lot of my normal like skin color and texture coming through, which also feels very summery to me. Next, I'll just quick do my brows with the e.l.f. Clear Brow Gel. I've been enjoying the lighter brow look and not even, I don't usually fill them in really heavy, but sometimes I do a little bit on the bottom just to give it more shape. And I've just been skipping that entirely and going with this nice soft brow effect. Then for blush, I'm leaning toward the Tower 28. I think this, of the colors I was swatching, this is probably closest to the vibe I'm feeling today. I'll just give you a look at this, what it looks like in the pan. I bet this would go on really nicely just with fingers, but I'm going to give it a shot with the e.l.f. Putty Blush Brush. It has this dual fiber texture and then sort of a softly angled shape. And I've been enjoying these sort of strawberry pink tones as a nice summer blush. I just realized I'm sort of implicitly skipping bronzer by doing the blush first. I could put it on over this, but I've been enjoying leaving the sort of soft glow and the natural definition my face already has instead of augmenting it or adding more of that bronzy tone. Just having a look to see if there's anything that I want to put concealer on. I realized that it would be more normal to do it also before the blush. But sometimes I don't notice, or it's harder for me to tell which areas are a little bit pinker or noticeable than I want them to be until I put the blush color on. And I think for today I'm okay with leaving my under eyes the way that they are. I think in terms of the eye look, a nice like light sparkly taupe that's a little bit darker than the eyeshadow stick that I actually have. I think that would be my preference for this, but since I don't have anything that's quite in that vein, I'm just going to go ahead with the mascara and let that be enough for today's eye look. And you can see just how fine and wispy my lashes actually are. Doesn't bother me, but I don't think anybody will be asking me to endorse their mascara anytime soon. Then for the lip option, I'm going to try a couple of things. First, let's have a look at the Cosmic Coral Sephora Shine Lipstick. I think that could definitely work, but it's a little bit more pink on pink than I'm feeling today. And I think actually I'm going to bring it back into neutral territory and use the Merit lipstick. These are really nice to work with in how they can be kind of built up or sheared out or blotted, whatever you want to do to give it the kind of like depth that you're interested in. And so it's been a nice one to have just for adding a little bit more definition without getting too formal of a feel. So there we go, possibly on trend summer look. Definitely one of the more casual, simple kinds of approaches. You could definitely take it all the way with one of those sunset eye or sunset blush kind of looks. I just don't have anything that's quite in the right colors to do that in terms of being able to do like an orange to pink gradient or something. And also I suspect on my skin tone it's going to look a little bit weird, but I know for other people it can be just an absolutely gorgeous effect. If you're playing around with any summer trends yourself, let me know. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear which ones really speak to you. If you watched all the way to the end and you enjoyed what you saw today, then don't forget to subscribe. I would love to see you back. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye!